Thomas Herenstam from Fria Ligan.
Yeah.
Do I say that right?
Works fine, yeah, that's right, completely right.
Good enough. Yeah. Let's talk about what you bring to SPIEL in Essen and what's new at Free League, because you are always very busy. And I see you already brought Vaesen. So let's start off with Vaesen.
Sure.
Yeah. What have you brought? A starter
Well,
set.
I brought with me, we have 2 new things that actually will be officially released on Tuesday. So it's actually a little bit before. But we have them here. And it's an expansion. It's called Mythic Carpathia. So it's expands the game from the Mythic North. We did a Mythic Britain book before, and now Mythic Carpathia, sort of Eastern Europe. So we have a team of writers from Poland and the Ukraine, actually, who wrote most of the book. And so it has a section about expanding the game into this area with sort of Vaesen from this area, which are really cool, and of course great art from Johan Egerkrans is still there, and several new mysteries that take place in different areas of the region. One in the Ukraine, written by the Ukrainian team, so that's really cool to work with them. So yeah, this is a big expansion for the Vaesen line that we really had a lot of fun with writing and playtesting.
And it looks great again. I'm so glad that you can keep having John Egerkrans doing the art, because it's just so impactful for Vaesen.
It is. It's sort of his. It's based on his. I mean, the line is based on his original art book, but now we work with him for the game as well, and it's just so much fun to do that and continue to work with his amazing art style and what he sort of brings to the games. Yeah. So it's really cool. And then we have like 3 adventures, and also where we have, it's actually another artist who does the portraits, and he does a really great job too. So it's a nice book, and it comes with a sort of a fold-out map of Mythic Carpathia on one side and the city of Prague on the other. That's sort of where it's based, sort of the focus of this expansion.
So they have their own organization.
Yeah, it's like a separate branch of the organization, the society. There's one in the Mythic North in Sweden, and then there's one in London, and now one in Prague. So it sort of expands.
Okay, all over the world.
Yes.
Okay, and you brought a starter set.
Yeah, this is a great starting point if you didn't try Vaesen yet, the Vaesen RPG, and want to have a go at it. I love box sets, and this is also completely new. So, and it comes with a couple of cool things. Well, it has some dice, some initiative cards, and some other stuff. But what I think is really cool, it has a rules, like a little booklet for rules, of course. It has an adventure called The Haunting of Castle Gyllenkreuz. So it's where you actually play in the game, the core game. You have a base, a headquarters, which is called Castle Gyllenkreuz, and this is actually how you first came to that place. And there's of course a haunting. And then there's this little book included, which is it's like a mini, it's called Codex Occultum, and it sort of includes information about all the different, like Vaesen, like the Lindworm, and ghosts, and fairies, and sea serpent, and all kinds of stuff. And this is actually a resource that you can use when playing the game, even after the starter set, because it sort of represents a knowledge that the society has about Vaesen. So you can, when you go out and investigate some strange thing, you can actually look in this book and look for clues. Oh, this matches. Oh, this could be a werewolf, or this could be that. So this is a sort of a resource that's really useful when playing the game, even after.
I love that. You can just hand it to your players, because usually it starts out a Vaesen game with, we know this is the case. Let's find out what kind of creature it might be. So go ahead.
You can sort of do your own research in the game, which is really cool. You just sit there and flip through the pages and think and wonder what could be going on. So, and there's maps and pre-generated characters and all kinds of handouts and things in this box set as well.
For Vaesen, I was wondering, because one big thing of the last years was the fan-made expansion with the Vaesen from Ukraine. Are those the same authors?
It is. So that's how we came to know them. They're really good writers, and so they did Mythic. I think it's called Mythic Ukraine. Sort of you're doing the community content program that we have. So we came and talked to them, and then since we wanted to do this Eastern European expansion, it felt like a good fit to include them in that. And that's been great. They wrote one of the adventures and several of the Vaesen, and so they did a great job on this book.
I love that that worked out from doing fan work for the game to actually writing for it.
Absolutely.
And Wesen is a game where I can see that over the years there will be books for lots of different places with their own fairy tales and their own Wesen. So
that's sort of the plan we have, because every part of the world has their own very cool folklore and Wesen that is so much there. So yeah, we've been discussing other regions that we might move into, and we want to do it like we did it with the previous two, that we find writers who are from that region and know that their local folklore well, so we get the details right, because this game sort of it's a fantasy game, of course, but it actually uses actual folklore, so the details need to be right.
Yeah. And to be respectful, or exactly working with the people who know the folklore.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to talk about another game, because there's a crowdfunding out for you for Trudvang.
Yeah.
And that is, I've looked into it because Trudvang, I've seen Trudvang before in this board game.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of history there, and it is going to be a crossover. It's going to be for Dragonbane.
Yes.
And that is a match, because that is from the same people originally, right?
Yeah, it is. It has a long history. Trudvang, I mean, internationally, I think is mostly known for the publisher called Right Minds. They made Trudvang Chronicles with the RPG. And then Simon, the board game company, made Trudvang Legends, which was a big board game with lots of miniatures and things. But the history of this world, Trudvang is a world it's a fantasy world, but it's really inspired by like Nordic folklore and Viking tales, and it has that aesthetic. And it goes back to Right Minds actually did Trudvang originally. They created this as a game setting for their version of Drakar Demoner, which is Dragonbane.
Okay.
Because they did a version of that game in like around the turn of the millennium, right, year 2000, 2001. And Trudvang was the world that they built for it. But then later they sort of made Trudvang into its own game, and it was disconnected from Dragonbane. But now, since we're doing Dragonbane, we're bringing Trudvang back to Dragonbane. It's such a cool world. And since Right Minds, they actually sold everything, the rights to all the material to Simon. Mm-hmm. So they don't work with Trudvang anymore. And so that's when since we're doing Dragonbane, we're like, wouldn't it be cool to do Trudvang again as a campaign world for Dragonbane, as it was originally? So we reached out to Simon, and now we have an agreement with them to do Trudvang again for Dragonbane. So that's really cool. And it's a super cool world, very immersive, fantastic art. So it's going to be very fun to work with. There's also a big campaign that was only published for the Swedish old version of Trudvang, and it's like a 4-part campaign that was never done in English. So we're doing that in English for the first time as well.
Okay. And I haven't played the old version of Trudvang, but as I understand it, it's also based on Nordic fairy tales, and creatures like trolls are very upfront on the cover.
It is. It's very, I mean, it's not like Wesen, it's more of a fantasy world, but it's also really takes it from like the old Icelandic tales, and it takes like the trolls and other, folklorish creatures like that. So it does have some similarities to Wesen in that way, but instead of being like investigators in the 19th century, you're warriors or whatever, in something that looks like the Viking Age. So it's a different type of game, but they both lean into Nordic folklore, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it is very close to your heart, probably.
It is, yeah.
Okay. Other lines that I really want to talk about there for the One Ring. Yeah. You had the new starter box.
Yes.
And we have now a book about the Elven Kingdoms.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about what you're planning next?
Yeah, we're working on a book right now. I hope we can announce it in just over a week, but we're still waiting for the final things to come together, but it should be very soon. And then if that comes together, we should be able to do a pre-order where you get the full PDF immediately, because the book is almost done. Okay. And I can't really announce what it is just yet, but it's a cool campaign book with, I think, 6 adventures that sort of tie together in a cool way. So it's going to be a thick, really beautiful book of adventures for the One Ring. So that's the next one coming up.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Then one of my absolute personal favorites is, when we've played every one of the boxes so far, is the Blade Runner game.
Yeah.
And there I'm always like, what is coming next, what is going to happen with that campaign. It's one of the favorites of me and Nico and the people in stream. So can you tell me something?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, what we're doing there, we did another. We have of course the 2 case files out, one in the starter set and one separate, and then we did a Kickstarter for Replicant Rebellion, which is sort of a different way of playing Blade Runner, where you play the replicants, the Rebellion, instead of the Blade Runners. That one had some delays, but it's finally done. So it's right now it's in beta PDF with backers. So that's coming out, and then the next thing we're doing is the next case file that I'll be working on. So I'm really looking forward to digging into that. So that shouldn't be too far off either.
I'm so looking forward to it. But no, this is me just being a fangirl, not doing anything journalistic. But those are some of the most beautiful gaming supplements and way to create this case file. It's just. You can play it basically out of the box. I love them. So fangirling over. Okay. Let's talk more about more science fiction games, because Coriolis, you've also, Coriolis is the game that you take your name from as the Freya Liga. And you kind of have restarted it like a soft reboot. What is going on there next? Yeah, I mean, we released a new edition of Coriolis. It's called The Great Dark in August. So it's very new. And that's gone out to backers. Now we did also a campaign box. It's like a boxed set with a full campaign in the box with maps and lots of cool stuff. So that's done and going out to backers and will be generally available. So like for the previous edition of Coriolis, there was a big campaign in 3 sections, but that took several years to actually finish. Now we're doing like one campaign so you get everything you need to actually play a full campaign in this box set, so people don't have to wait for years to finish it. So that's really cool. There's a lot of stuff coming for Coriolis The Great Dark after that as well. So that's just getting started. Okay. And the last one that I really want to talk about is what is going to happen next with Forbidden Lands? Because the last time I think we talked about it, the sneak peek was we're going into the older lands. Yes, yeah. So where everyone who made the life miserable for people in the original, in the Raven Lands comes from. Right. Yeah, we're still working on that one. Yeah, that was a little bit delayed as well, but that's in its final. We're getting the final cover art now. The text is in its final stages of editing, so that is sort of the end of that sort of trilogy that Eric Ronstrom, the setting writer, wrote for the game. So that's coming together soon as well. So coming soon. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Now, Free League has so many lines that I'm probably missing something that might come up soon. What else should we definitely talk about? Is there another project dear to your heart that is going to be soonish? Yeah, we covered a lot already, but I think maybe mention because we're doing a new edition of the Alien RPG. Oh, yeah. So that's coming, actually November 18th is the release date. So backers are getting it like now, it's starting to get it. With a new starter set, a new core rulebook, miniatures, and a new adventure called Rapture Protocol. And so that's going to be really cool to see people finally getting that, in physical form. So that's very, very soon. It's coming out like in just under a month. Can you tell me a little bit what changed with the new edition? Because the Alien game, it worked really well for exactly what it is done. What did you tweak? Yeah, no, it's more of a revision. It's not a completely different. It's still very much the same game. We just fine-tuned some things. I also reworked the layout to make it a little bit, because the original book was very large, very heavy. So we condensed it a little bit, made it a bit more easy to navigate. Tweaked some rules, expanded some rules, added things like life path character generation, adding solo rules, things like that. And also for the starter set and the new adventure, we're adding more support to actually play with miniatures. You don't need to play with miniatures, but they do work now sort of better with the adventure, new type of map and things like that. So yeah, it's more of a sort of enhancing it, taking it to the next level, but it's still the same game. It still has that same core mechanics that we really think work well from the start. What about the solo mode? Because there's a Strider mode for the One Ring that I really like. And how is the solo mode for Alien going to work? It sounds like mostly what are the monsters going to do? Yeah, it's called The Last Survivor. And like most of the other solo modes, it's you sort of create your own story as you play.
And I think and this one is also written by Sean Tompkin and Matt Pick, who are really good at this, and they do most of our solo modes. And this one, Last Survivor, basically what you do, you actually have a small crew, so you can have some help, so that they will probably get killed. So hopefully you will be the last survivor and possibly, make it all the way there. But it's really cleverly made, sort of escalating tensions and playing towards that rising tension, and maybe you'll get out alive in the end. So yeah, they did a great job at it.
Okay, looking forward to it, because the other solo modes that they made I really liked.
Yeah, thank you. There.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the time, and have a great show at Essen.
Hi.
We have you. We won't let you go. No. The guys from System Matters were nice enough to invite you and to bring you here. So we're going to talk about Goodman Games, what you do, and what is up next, because your output is amazing. I only see it kind of often secondhand with System Matters, who are your partners for the German version. Yeah, give me an introduction. What is Goodman Games doing right now here at SPIEL Essen?
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Goodman. I'm the publisher at Goodman Games. Believe it or not, next year is our 25th anniversary. We've been in business a long time. We publish all sorts of things, but mostly tabletop role-playing games. We're best known for Dungeon Crawl Classics, or DCC RPG, and we also support D&D 5th edition.
Yeah, DCC is I think the thing that you are best known for in Germany, thanks thanks to System Matters. Yeah, and there's lots of things always coming out. So I'm always amazed on how big your output is, but that is also because you have so many people who are working for DCC or who are doing at least one adventure. So can you tell me a little bit about where you find your authors and how people get to work with you, and what kind of the vibe is that you're looking for DCC authors and writers? Yeah,
definitely. I'm going to start with a brief introduction to Appendix N. Mm-hmm. Do you know what that is?
I know what it is. Yeah, it's all these books have inspired us for D&D.
Exactly. It's the list of books that Gary Gygax said inspired him to write D&D. So we reread all those books and wrote DCC RPG based on modern game design mechanics inspired by these classic works of fiction. And what makes it fun when you do it that way is you appreciate other people's work. Mm-hmm. So you realize that D&D comes from other people's work and other people's visions of fantasy. So we wanted to create a game system that allowed anybody to participate and was as much about playing it and having fun as about inspiring other people to want to write their own material and run their own games. So we have a free license that allows anybody to publish DCC compatible material. And hundreds of people have done that. I think we're now the second most popular tabletop or RPG category in Kickstarter other than D&D. It's D&D 5e, and then there's been something like 250 or 300 DCC Kickstarters by this point.
That is amazing.
It is amazing. There's so many people out there creating it. And then we do little things to try to support them. We buy their product and sell it in our online store. Sometimes we sell it at conventions. So we do ways to try to, you want them to make some money off of it and feel special about it. And we work with a lot of people who appreciate Appendix N and appreciate gaming. And often when we need a new writer, we will reach out to the independent community. And a lot of us read their stuff and we know, oh, that guy made a great scene. And I think some people look at our production values and see the black and white art, and it's easy to look at that in different ways. What I love about it is it conjures up the old school feel, but it also makes it accessible to other people. You feel like you could make something like this because you have a friend who draws, and you could write something like that. And so we design it in a way that makes you feel like you could create something, and a lot of people do, and then that's sort of the feeder to working with us.
So it's not just that it is kind of a throwback to old school publishing and to zines and community works, and it's just an invitation to see. It's not that hard. You don't have to have full color illustrations and everything.
Exactly, and it's a community. I think you ask yourself, why do you play RPGs, right? People give different answers. Obviously, you choose a game because that game is fun, but the reason you go sit with 5 or 6 other people for 4 hours, like who hangs out with 5 other people for 4 hours? Like the only time you do that is when you're gaming. Gaming is great for getting people, or I guess if you drink a lot, but or maybe both. But gaming is great for getting people out there having fun with their friends. It's a social activity, it's a communal activity. And so to me, to create a game that invites others in is very important because you want it to feel like a community where people are welcome, can have fun together.
Yes. And what I also appreciate is that you find some of the artists that are working for you are some that have created this black and white style and everything. So is it kind of been like a journey to find people who still do that and to find some of the people who actually drew the classics?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one distinguishing characteristic of DCCRPG from an art perspective is that all the art we publish is created with physical media. Yeah. So somebody draws it on paper or paints it on canvas. And that was not special at all 20 years ago. Everybody did it that way. Now people create art with computers and with tablets and with the stylus. And it's actually really hard to find artists who can draw with pen and paper. That hardly ever happens anymore. So people often come to me and comment on how, they love the look. What does this look? What is this aesthetic? And basically we use paint, that's our look. We use paint. So we use a technique that is not common anymore. And we appreciate just fantastic images, and it somehow combines to create this amazing thing that comes together. I don't know what it is. We all just, me and many of the artists we all read the same books, we play the same games, we appreciate the same things, and I think somehow we're just on the same wavelength. And so they use techniques that look distinctive in the marketplace. I mean, I've been walking Essen. There's an amazing amount of beautiful art here, but it's all digital, and our products stand out very much because they're not digital at all.
Yeah, you can kind of see that the people, everyone uses the same toolkits, the same programs, the same brush tips that they bought in the marketplace. It's kind of the same style. I totally get that. And what is also then something that's absolutely distinct is you are 100% AI safe. As in, I don't think anyone is going to try and use a machine to copy that and then print it out and then fake it being physical media.
Yeah, that'd be hard. Correct. We don't use AI in our work. We use real people. We barely even use computers. So you got to draw with pencil. It's really funny because when I had the chance to do Goodman Games, I went back to many of the artists I loved from TSR, from the people who made D&D back in the 1970s and 1980s, and I got the chance to hire them. So I had the chance to publish art by Errol Otis and Jeff Easley and Jeff D and Jim Rosloff and all these Diesel, all these amazing artists that I looked at their work when I was a kid, And when we first started doing this, now the game's been around for, I guess, 13 years. And technology has evolved. But many of these guys their work was published in the 1970s, so they are older than me. So what used to happen, they could barely work scanners. So there was a period when we were publishing the game where I would get mail of original art. Jeff Easley mailed me a painting once. He's this amazing illustrator from the golden age of D&D. And it was this huge painting. And I didn't have anywhere in my house to put it. And the time my older son was 1 year old, and he would always mess stuff up, so I had to put it up high. So I just set Jeff's painting on the top of my washing machine for a month until I could get it properly scanned, because I didn't want my kid to throw up on it, So it's amazing working not just with original art, but having just art lying around the house. I have a great photo. Doug Kovacs is an amazing illustrator, one of the person who helped me design DCCRPG from a design perspective, and a great artist. And he brings real art to conventions. You're not buying a print, you're buying an original painting. So at a Gen Con many years ago when my son was, I think, 3 or 4, we brought him to Gen Con, and he went up to Doug's booth, and he was so entranced by the art, he wanted to touch the art. The art was really pulling him in. But it's original art. So I have this photo of my child with his greasy hand covered in hot dog, touching Doug's painting. So somebody eventually bought that painting, and I don't think they noticed the fingerprint. But his art's so good that my kid wanted to touch it and got pulled in. And it's just great working with artists who can make something that real,
Yes, and as you said, it's kind of a dying art, and I'm always happy to see that some people hold it. We've had talks about it before, the pressure is there to go to other kinds of art and everything. But I think that is one of the reasons that it is one of the most liked categories for people to work for DCC, to make their own stuff. Yeah, because it feels different.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist. Unfortunately, I'm not that good. So I became a writer instead, because I'm better at writing. But before Goodman Games, now we'd call it a zine. I published a zine about Warhammer 40,000, because I played a lot of 40K when I was a kid. But my brother and I did all the writing, and then I did all the art. So I've been there where a lot of these zine artists and creators are, and it's really fun to make your own thing and see it come to life.
Yeah, and you can kind of feel the love for that also with all your official things. I have to ask a little bit more about the ideas and the design behind DCC, because I've talked with these guys about it, but the humor. It is, it can be an absolutely brutal game that you are going to die within 5 minutes flat, but there's always something weird and whimsical about it too. So is it something that just happened for you writing, or was that kind of the idea that you went in leading with?
You know, it wasn't like a deliberate design choice, but I like to have fun. When I game, you know, long before DCC RPG, when I just played games with my friends, it was about hanging out and having fun for several hours together. So I've always put humor into the games. And I guess I was always kind of a killer judge. So I don't know, I just try to make it fun.
It did work, yeah. I very fondly remember some of the games that we had where we threw giant chicken at people, and it worked. Yes. The chicken are the MVPs, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does Goodman Games bring to Essen Spiel this year?
Actually, I think it's what System Matters has brought to Goodman Games. It's kind of amazing how they've done such an incredible job bringing our products to life for the German market. And it's been really cool being at their booth and having people walk up to want to tell me how they love DCC RPG. And yet they've never directly interacted with the Goodman Games. They've only interacted with our German partners. So it's been great so far talking to fans, hearing them excited about our products. It's just been really fun.
Do you have this kind of contact? Often you said it's not been in Germany so far, but are you on other international game shows in Italy or something? Because I can imagine that this would happen everywhere you go.
We go to a ton of conventions in the US, and we have partners who translate into several other languages. I personally have 2 young children, so I don't travel internationally as much as I would like to. So it probably will happen when we go to cons in Italy and other places. But personally, I've only experienced it here.
Okay. What is up next? Is there something that you are working on right now that you can kind of give us a heads up? What is going to be the next thing for DCC?
Yeah, we're always working on way too much stuff. And some of it takes a long time to come to life. I'm going to tell you about one thing that we're announcing next week, which I don't think German people play pinball. Do you play pinball?
Hardly ever. And that is kind of a cultural thing, because like these arcades weren't a thing in Germany for quite a long time. So yeah, we know them, but for us, it's kind of nostalgia-laden and Americana when we're looking at it.
So then you might not even care, but
I might not, but I do have a fascination for pinball. I'm really bad at it because I only get to try my hand at it very rarely if you're at a place at an arcade that actually is around. But I do love to do it because it literally, excuse the pun, pings something in my brain.
Yeah, I love pinball, and I spent a lot of time in arcades growing up. Yeah. So we again, this might not resonate with you, but for some people it will resonate. There was a pinball game in 1979 called Gorgar. It's awesome.
Okay. You're
a barbarian. You're fighting a demon. You got to rescue your girlfriend. It's got amazing art. There's like a serpent that you fight, giant serpent skeletons. It's like in a cave. It's like a D&D adventure on a pinball machine. Then you hit the little bumpers, you know, stuff happens. Anyway, we've licensed the rights to convert Gorgar to a DCC adventure. So to your point, the art.
I have questions.
Yes, the art is amazing. It's vintage art from 1979 that was used on a pinball machine, and we're going to put it as the cover to our adventure. We've also licensed 4 other pinball machines, all from the late 70s, early 80s. So Swords of Fury, Cosmic Gunfight, Centaur. Why am I blanking on the last one? Oh, Embryon and Gorgar. So we're calling it Pinball Crawl Classics. That'll be crowdfunding in January. It's just kind of 5 adventures, but they're all inspired by these amazing pinball machines. If you went to Gen Con 2023, we had pinball machines at our booth. Yeah. And that was kind of testing the waters to see what fans thought. And it's amazing. There's some people react like you, like they have no idea what I'm talking about. Other people, I say Gorgar and their eyes light up. They're like, yeah, I played that at the pizza parlor for like an entire summer back when I was a kid. So a lot of people fondly remember it. So this will be one of those things that many people really don't care about. But for a small number, they will love it. And it looks so classic and vintage because all the art was from that era, hand painted or silk screened.
And that is kind of a style that is like the pinnacle, like slightly schlocky barbarian fantasy art. It's like the best kind. Everything is bulging and shiny and beautiful, and the hair is waving.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's that classic, I don't know, it's just tropes, classic fantasy tropes that everybody understands immediately when you look at it. And actually, Swords of Fury is a cool game because it has a lion man. You have a lion man, a balrog, a knight, and an ogre. It's all in the art of these games is amazing. There's a whole D&D plot in the art. And when you play the game, this might not come through, but he says lion man, so he goes, lion man, as you play the game. It's just, if you played these, and Gorgar talks. If you played Gorgar, it was the first pinball machine to make noise. So it says, Gorgar, kill you. So anyway, if you know this stuff, it's just really fun. So that's coming in January, crowdfunding in January. And then in April, we're doing Castle White Rock, which is a classic mega dungeon. I think it's 30 levels. It's huge. And we're doing something, speaking of indie creators, so we have the mega dungeon, we have 30 levels. It's really, I'm gonna spoil it. It's got not one dragon, but 2 dragons. It's got a really cool ending when you get to the bottom. But it's a big dungeon, and like in level 3, let's say there's a corridor that ends in a cave-in, we're allowing indie creators to plug into our dungeon. So there's going to be about a dozen indie DCC publishers, and they say, well, actually, that corridor in level 3 does not end in a cave-in, and you can plug in my 5 additional rooms onto that. So it's really cool. And then for the crowdfunding, we're going to do this thing where there's going to be the lost level. If you pledge for one of the campaigns, actually, I think technically if you pledge for all the campaigns, each contributor, like we give you the map, and then indie guy number 1 gives you room 1, and indie guy number 2 gives you room 2, and indie guy number 3 gives you room 3. So to complete the entire thing, you have to pledge for each of them. You get our dungeon, all their expansions, and a mysterious lost level. But it's a really cool way for us to collaborate and build a kind of a shared mega dungeon that'll, it's going to be a big dungeon. It'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's going to add more of the kind of creative chaos that mega dungeons usually have. Because what are you going to fill 30 levels of dungeon with? It is going to be strange at some point.
Oh, for sure. A little bit of strange. So I'm going to tell you a fun fact. I read a lot of Appendix N, which is the literature that inspired Gary Gygax. Much of that was written at the turn of the century, so 1910, 1920, 1930. We look at things now and we categorize it in genres. We say that's fantasy, that's science fiction, that's horror. Those genres didn't exist at that time. It was all just adventure. There was actually a word called scientifiction, which meant kind of like weird sci-fi fantasy stuff. But there were no genres at that time, which is why a lot of the writing from that time doesn't fit neatly into one genre. So what I like about early D&D is it didn't have genres. Yeah. And what I try to accomplish with DCCRPG is to ignore genres. Like, let the adventure take you where it will, and don't worry about whether this is fantasy or horror or science fiction. It can all be the same thing.
Yeah, it can be on a different planet, in a different time. There can be lasers, everything.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You got to have lasers.
Just got to have fun. Okay, I have one last question, because how do you get the license to a pinball machine? Are the people still around?
It's actually really funny. So, there's, with certain very professional organizations, they have like a guy in charge of licensing, and you go talk to that guy. In this case, I had to, I basically played a lot of pinball and hung out in a lot of pinball bars and was like, hey, do you know who has the license to this? They'd be like, no. Then I go to the next door, I'd be like, hey, do you know who has a license to this? And eventually, if you go to enough pinball bars, guys like, yeah, you talk to so-and-so. I think his name is Rick. He used to work over there. So I eventually tracked down, it's a dude who lives in the desert who bought all the rights a long time ago. It's named Rick.
Hot boy detective story.
Yeah. No, it took me a couple of years. And I eventually, there's actually a pinball museum. I live near San Francisco. There's a pinball, it's amazing. If you're ever near San Francisco, it's called the Pacific Pinball Museum. It's in Alameda, California. They have, I think, 140 pinball machines from every era, from the very beginning all the way up to modern. And they have a bunch of the ones I love. So I got to tell you about how I got kidnapped, actually. So the guy, he's the executive director, Michael, and he has like 1,000 pinball machines in a warehouse on the other side of this. It's a small island called Alameda on the other side of the island. So I took my creative team there. So we were there with like 10 of us just to play pinball and get inspired. And we knew we'd be writing this eventually. So Michael walks up to me and he basically said like, hey, you want to see some more pinball machines? And I was like, sure. He's like, great, meet me out back. So he met me out back with 2 of the contributors, and he pulled around in this white, it's called a panel van. It's like a van with no windows, basically.
Yeah, the classic kidnapping van.
Exactly. It's the way, the kind you kidnap people with, yes. And so he put me in the front. Then I got in the front next to him, and I turned around, and there's like this steel mesh grill, like you couldn't get from the front to the back. Then he told my team to get in the back. And there's no seats. Like they got in, we're like, what's going on? Then he like slammed the doors and peeled out. And he had a sign in the back that said, prisoners will not speak unless spoken to. And I think it was kind of just a joke. But yeah, so he drove us around the bend, and it's just like 2 miles away. he had rented out like this warehouse must have held aircraft or imagine like the biggest warehouse you've ever seen. So he let us all out and he let us in. And it's like 1,000 pinball machines, and he's a museum and he rotates exhibits, and it was just like his overflow. I've never seen that many pinball machines, and half of them don't work and are dusty, and they have a little corner in the back where this one guy is like repairing them all, very slowly working his way through. It's really cool. But anyway, people like that, he's deep in the world of pinball. So once you sort of get in and get to know the people who own 1,000 pinball machines, like somebody knows somebody, and eventually I found Rick in the desert, and now I have the rights.
That is, first of all, it's an amazing story that you can tell over and over again. But I'm just caught on Rick, the guy in the desert who owns the rights to pinball machines, and it's amazing that you found him. And
yeah, it's kind of somehow it wouldn't work if you didn't live in a desert.
Yes, it has to be in a desert. It has to be a shack, and he has to be a weird guy with a beard.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll stop there. I hope Rick's not listening. Hi,
Rick. Weird is always positive when I say it.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward. Strangely, I'm looking forward to the pinball adventures.
They're going to be a lot of fun. Like the adventures are very inspiring. The art's really cool. And one more plug. In case you're a pinball fan, there's a great app called Pinball Map. You can open this app. It'll show you the nearest pinball machines. There aren't many pinball machines near Essen, according to this map. I've already checked.
I can imagine.
But if you want to get that app called Pinball Map, it's a great way to find a local. I mean, play RPGs, play all the games, but pinball's a lot of fun too. And this is a great way to find a machine near you.
Okay. And actually, I think most of them by now are in museums too in Germany, and very few in like community centers. So, I kind of want to play pinball now. That's bad.
Fun. I play with my kids. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It was lovely meeting you and going to talk about it, because we've been talking about DCC a lot, and this was like I get to ask you the things I always wanted to know. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
I think we haven't talked before.
No, I don't
probably.
think so. We haven't a chance now.
Yeah. But you've brought something that we also haven't talked about before yet, because Chaosium is producing board games.
Oh, yeah. That's what we do right now. So we started off a couple of years ago with our campaign for Horizon Express, and it's now coming to our backers slowly. But in the meantime, we got a straight to retail release, and this is a deeply narrative, story-driven game, which is called Journey to Innsmouth, Miscutting Tales Journey to Innsmouth. And the cool thing about it is that there is no win or lose condition in the game. You just play to explore. You impersonate a character. You might die along the way, and that's fine. That's part of the story. So in this box, you have about 15 hours of adventures. It combines role-playing games and board games and choose-your-own-adventure kind of game. And there are 3 huge scenarios inside that you can play. And after you play a scenario, the game will tell you, oh, you've seen 38% of the story inside. So would you like to play it again, or do you want to move to another scenario? We also prepared a special app, which is free. And we have a voiceover actor that just covers the entire narrative in the game. So if you want somebody to read the chapters to you, you can use the app. If not, then just read it for yourself. So the box is almost 5 kilos. Okay. There is a lot of stuff inside, and you have, when you open it, you will see that you have maps and character sheets and some extra things that I cannot show you, not to spoil the game.
Okay. Good.
But also, apart from plenty of cards that you will use during the game, some secret map tiles and story journal cards, you also have the core of the game, which are the booklets with the choose an adventure thing. So whenever you play the game, you'll go through this book to a chapter, you read whatever flavor text is there, and then you have some mechanical choices. Mechanically speaking, the game is very light. It's card driven. You have a couple of cards, like 5 cards in your hand, and whenever you do something, you play a card. So when you run out of cards, that's the end of your round. And there are some tests in the game. We have very simple custom dice that you can use to run these tests, but they're also super easy. The entire thing is about a story, and the story is pretty deep. And I think that if you like the Cthulhu horror thing, and if you know what Innsmouth is connected with, then you might expect that your journey that starts somewhere on the shore of the ocean next to Innsmouth, what might come out of it. It's fun.
Or who.
Or what? Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Okay, I've seen there's an Innsmouth map. So there parts of the game where you can kind of freely decide where to go, and then you find which part of the narrative booklet you're going to use. Can you tell me a little bit about how it works?
The game is sandboxy in a sense that you can choose where to go, what to explore, in what order. Sometimes you will not have time to explore everything. Sometimes after we explore something, some choices, some paths will be closed for you, and others will open. It's a bit like in a video game. That you cannot see a choice, like a dialogue option, up until you do something. So that's something like that happens here. And the game will change while you play it, and you can play it with different groups, and it will probably behave differently every time you play it. So I will just I cannot tell you much about it.
Okay.
And Innsmouth is only one of the scenarios here, but what I can tell you is that one of the scenarios is called Lightless Beacon, and it's actually based on an RPG scenario that we published a couple of years ago. And it's a free PDF online scenario, so if you want to run it, you can run it. And but we kind of translated that scenario into a board game. So a part of it is connected with what you already might have experienced while playing Call of Cthulhu games. And if not, maybe after you play this game, you'll find it interesting, and maybe you'll join the cult of people who play Call of Cthulhu, the RPG, right?
Is it supposed to be like a one-off journey to Innsmouth, and or are there going to be more things connected to it? Because it sounds like this is easily adaptable to have more stories set in it.
Great idea. Why don't we, see what the future brings? But yeah, we might come up with a couple of more boxes in the more or less foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. We'll see how this lands and how you, the players, will like it. If you like it well enough, then for sure we'll be having more of those games out. Maybe not only in the Cthulhu line, who knows? So we have a lot of cool IPs in Chaosium.
That is true. We're going to talk about a few more of those in a minute. I overheard it, but how many characters are in there and what kind of characters?
There are 8 playable characters. And cool thing is that you can play it from 1 to 4 players, but it's best when the game always has 4 characters available, which means that even if you're playing with just a solo game, then you have a proper character. You're playing as Sarah, for example, and you have your character, your statistics, and everything. But you can also use other characters just as NPCs, and this way everything works out nicely. So you can play it with 4 players with proper characters, but you can also turn them into NPCs, and then you can play it single-handedly.
Okay, so my next question would have been how it scales for different amounts of players, but that's how it scales for different numbers of players. Okay. Thank you so much. I would cycle you through and ask Neil and Jason to come over, because now we're going to talk about RPGs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great show.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you so much. And Jason and I have talked quite often in the past, but I think, Neil, this might be the first time.
It is the first time.
It's the first time we're meeting. Yeah, well, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about the RPG side of Chaosium, which is the side I'm most familiar with, because that's what you mostly do. And you are already wearing a shirt.
Age of Vikings t-shirt.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about Age of Vikings.
Age of Vikings is a new version of a game we published several years prior called Mythic Iceland. But it has been completely revamped. New content has been expanded. The rules have been updated, and it basically focuses on life in Iceland in the year 977, where the player characters are heroes who are trying to make their place in Icelandic myth and the sagas. They're sort of trying to live big heroic lives. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't bring any new products from the line here to this particular show, but people swinging by the booth might find something there that has not been announced.
Okay. For the people who can't swing by the booth, are they allowed to know a little bit, or are we going to be secretive about it?
Well, we do have a copy of one adventure called The Cursed Farm, which has been made available prior. And that's a short adventure where the characters go out to a farmhouse in the countryside and investigate some nasty goings-on. And that is available at the booth. And then there's the core rule book And then maybe something else that
Okay.
like game masters might find very useful.
Oh, maybe something with important things on it that you. Oh, okay.
Could be.
We also have, if you are here, we also have a demo game where you can go and walk through and try a home game, which is like a duel, Icelandic duel, or even see battle on a ship if you like as well. But that's just a trial if you want to know what Age of Vikings is going to be like as a game and get a feel for it and the BRP system.
Yeah, we've got a little setup with a big poster map of two Viking ships pulled up next to each other and a lot of little Viking paper minis so they can fight each other. And then there's like Neil mentioned, a home gang duel circle where two characters enter and only one leaves.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all basic role playing based.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it all uses the D100 basic role playing system.
I wonder what kind of characters you're going to play, because Iceland and you even have a specific time frame, a very specific time frame. So it is a very specific kind of culture and situation. Mostly farmers, very hardworking subsistence farmers.
Right. But also a lot of immigrants coming over, just newly arrived into the countryside. You can choose to play like a character who's a warrior, who's primarily interested in raiding and going a sea to find fortune and fame and wealth and notoriety. Or you could do the farming game, and you could play like trying to build your farm, trying to get status within your community, dealing with problems there. You could play a rune master who's sort of touching the gods, and that higher world of the mystic aspect of the game. You could play the cedar magician, who are powerful, generally female sorcerers who tap into a secret magic that is only a few of the gods know it even. And it's very deep and powerful. It's not really useful in combat immediately, but it can have very profound effects. You could be a holy person and try to steer the community. There's a bunch of different roles you can play in the community that are more than just a farmer.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to ask how the mythic part of the formerly mythic title comes into this, but it's traditional magic based on Icelandic beliefs of the time.
Right. And there are also the hidden folk. They're the elves.
Oh, yeah.
They exist, trolls, and all sorts of other magical things available. And in the game, magic is, of course, real. Characters' belief in the gods. They have devotions to their gods and dedication points they can spend to better their chances of success and to manifest certain powers.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you have to come over to the booth to look at the things. But when are we going to actually get our hands on full published versions?
Well, the core Age of Vikings is available. It was released in May. We did Jason and I did a kickoff in Iceland. It was
In
a great
Reykjavik.
experience.
Really? That is amazing.
The land of volcanoes and eternal night.
Or eternal light when we were there.
It was eternal daytime when we were there.
So it is out, and like I said, there's 3 things there you can come and see, and you can really play it. It is a standalone book, so you don't have other supplements to play it. So that is ready to go already. Okay. It's just we've got some additional things that's kind of a pre-release that we want to announce.
And we have a very aggressive line of follow-up products coming soon that are in development.
Okay. So anything you can hint at, or are we going just to say it's going to be stuff?
More adventures, sagas. We've got a saga coming. We're really excited about that.
A companion book that has all sorts of different things, from adventures to new player options to the ability to play mythic races like Jotun or elves or even crows.
Or Irish.
Or ravens. Or Irish.
The mythical Irish.
The mythical Irish. And and then lots and lots of things. And we were also doing a very exciting community content program as well, which we're launching soon.
But did you just say that you can play ravens?
You can play ravens. And in the Age of Vikings Companion, which will be the first of the next products coming out, one of the adventures is very specifically called A Ravenous Heart, and you play ravens. Okay. All the player characters are assumed to be ravens.
That is very specific, but ravens are important for Viking seafaring.
Yes.
Okay. You also brought 2 books that we're going to take a look at.
One of them is for the basic role-playing line, which is the sort of undercurrent system that powers most of Chaosium's games. This is basic role-playing creatures. It contains 200 plus new creature types and abilities, plus lots and lots of variant creatures broken up from undead to mythic to human to science fiction creatures, a huge section on fantasy creatures, and then natural creatures, dinosaurs and megafauna, all kinds of creatures, most of them illustrated beautifully in full color, and variants for how to modify them for your game, and lots of rules for the game master. Let's show this, the beautiful cover.
Maybe you want to, for example, have a kaiju or something like that. With Call of Cthulhu, you could argue Cthulhu is probably the biggest and toughest kaiju out there.
Yeah.
But there's rules on how to do that, how to make a monster bigger, how to make it, or honestly, and if you have a game with sharks, you can always add lasers, because that's something we have with the science fiction
or if you decide, I want to have a wolf, but I want it to have octopus tentacles and claws and laser eyes, and I want it to be kaiju sized, you could do all that with these rules.
Okay, so I can, like the cover promises, I can mix and match the creatures in there.
Absolutely.
1,000%. And the other thing I think that's really the strength of it is when Jason and I were putting it together is because all our games are really based on the core basic role-playing system, the work required to tweak it to a different game system is quite simple. Obviously moving to something like RuneQuest or Age of Vikings is the easiest. There's pretty well no work to do to get to release it out there. For Call of Cthulhu, there's some minor tweaks you need to do, but it's again very simple to be able to create any of these creatures. So you want to have say Bigfoot or some creature like that, or in your Call of Cthulhu horror game, where you think of something like aliens, you can just pull right out of this book and put that in your Call of Cthulhu game. And then on the other side of it, Pendragon, which is a D20 system, but it's still based on the core BRP engine from an extent. You can just also streamline it to make it support Pendragon, where armor's to handle a little differently, combat's a bit different, but you can use it right away.
Yes, if you want to have your knights fighting aliens or, cyborgs from the future, this is the book you can do it with.
But they, in themselves, they are kind of like, apart from basic role-playing, they're system agnostic. So throw them in any kind of a campaign that you want to, not system agnostic, but setting agnostic. You can throw them in anything that you run with basic role-playing.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
That was the goal. And and this expands the basic role-playing line to, it includes this, and there will be other basic role-playing products as well.
Can you talk a little bit about what's going to come next for basic role-playing? So beyond the creatures?
Can we announce, could we talk about our next project? I have to get clearance from Neil.
Let's see, for BRP, we're certainly working on other products that will really be more generic. Let's just think of it that way, right? If we don't want to, we're not going to have a BRP adventure. We actually have some in the Quick Start, which is available at our booth for free. That we did that a part of Free RPG Day. But the other pieces of it, we're looking at things like, it's like vehicles or equipment or things like that. Is kind of our plan to have that. We just, the goal is the basic role-playing line is to be a toolkit for any GM to use for a BRP, any D100 system, and honestly, you can modify it easily for a D&D 5e or other system like that as well, to kind of use as their toolkit to run a game to tweak. So maybe they have a campaign, but they want to add something. This is the sort of thing that they would pull.
So it would be more books in that vein that just offer a broad range of options that you can pull from.
Exactly. And if you want to play a game with a setting, play RuneQuest, play Age of Vikings, play your own and write your own. That's 100%
And
done.
yeah, and since the BRP rules use the ORC open game license, that gives you the opportunity to publish your own games that could use these.
Well, this
with
is
them.
under the ORC license.
This isn't under the ORC, but you could write your own game and then say, hey, and get dinosaur rules in this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything's better with dinosaurs. We're
Everything.
absolutely agreed on that.
Yeah.
Just a quick aside, have you kind of an overview how many third-party people or things published on Drive-Thru or something there are?
It's a surprising number. I haven't checked lately, but we did that contest a year or two ago.
Yep.
We gave cash awards for people who were designing games with BRP and the ORC license. And I know that at least 3 or 4 of them have been published, and I think at least a dozen more are in early stages or late design. It's sometimes hard to keep track of where they're at.
But I'm just seeing how much more of these third-party license third-party books are coming out because of many of the free licenses there are. So
It's really hard to tell, but like I say, a look on like Drive-Thru RPG is a great way to check and get a picture of that. And
Okay, the other one I'll show here is Sutra of Pale Leaves, Carcosa Manifest. It's actually the second book in a series we have, and we have a special at the booth on it. And the idea is that these are 1980 era adventures in Japan, written by Japanese and expats who live in Japan. In terms of that, to give you a more modern version of a Call of Cthulhu campaign, and we've had great success. A lot of interest in this. It's easily, our best-selling Call of Cthulhu product at this convention and our last other ones in terms of that. And it really gives you a different take on it. And the neat thing about that is this has 3 scenarios. There's 3 scenarios in the previous one. And each one has not only a different feel, but a different art style, a different Japanese art style, from a 1980s comic or whatever, to one of them is a much more of the traditional art you have before in Japan. And so we really fit it well, and they all flow together, and you can have a full campaign. And we actually split the books because we thought that it would be too big as a campaign if you have both of them at once.
So are they, because it's called the Carcosa Manifest, are they all around the Carcosa, around the Hasta myth, around the King in Yellow?
Yes, they are. Yeah,
Nice.
They're all tied in that way. Yeah, the Yellow King. Yeah.
And we've had this talk before, Jason and I, that Call of Cthulhu is very big in Japan as a game. So yeah, I can imagine that you have a lot of people who are willing to collaborate and to write for that, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah, really big. And actually, one of our vice presidents went and recently was in Japan for that and had a convention, and it was neat because it was really good to see the people playing games, Call of Cthulhu, whatever, in a different country with a different experience. The Japanese version of the rules are subtly different than the English ones. Like the German ones are much more similar to the English version as well.
Okay. So this is very interesting because it is kind of like going to a different market worldwide and just seeing what is brewing there and what ideas the people bring in. Is that kind of something that you would consider do in the future too, and with other kind of different places, and to have more input from people around the world?
Yeah, so we have a program we've released called Chaosium International, and that is working with other publishers to produce Call of Cthulhu games first and foremost in different settings. For example, there's a Warsaw book that is done by Black Monk, which is our Polish licensee. We have, there's books done for Vienna, done by the Pegasus SPIEL, and they, in German, obviously, in terms of that. And there's an option for us together to try and partner and say, hey, I want to take this book in this country and do it in a different language. And we're trying to enable that. We recently are looking at one that was done initially in Spanish, although set in Egypt, and it's been brought to Polish, and it's going to be brought to English as well.
Cthulhu brings the world together, weirdly enough.
All in fear. Yeah.
unites the world before destroying it.
Do you have any other titles and books coming up for Call of Cthulhu that we should talk about?
I'm just trying to think of what there is in terms of a release. We have quite a few coming. Marketing won't let me really say in terms of, and said they are, but we have a really strong product line in 2026 specifically. We've got a really, there are books they've already been printed. They're in the warehouse. I'm going to see them when I go to Poland next week, but they're not. We haven't really announced them yet in terms of delivery. Okay. The one challenge of being of our company is we have 5 warehouses, and we're quite distributed. We generally print in Poland or in China, and we need to get it to every warehouse, or as many as we can, before we can release and even announce it. And given today's world, and given the just shipping things across the oceans has been a real challenge for us to organize. So it's like, this book has been ready, BRP Creatures has been ready and available in Poland for months, yet we couldn't sell it yet because we couldn't get it in America or wherever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's not getting easier.
Unfortunately.
Yes. And Joseph Goodman was here just a little bit ago, and he said he saw a Pendragon reprint of the first edition Pendragon.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Neil
I can mention
probably
that.
could tell more.
So we've just done a Kickstarter for the original version of Pendragon as a box set. We're about a week into the Kickstarter. I think it funded very, very, very quickly. And if you're interested in the old classic version of Pendragon, that's available as a box set for you to get as well, and try that on there. And that's. I think we've got about another week and 2 weeks or something of that Kickstarter available. You have a chance to go look at it and go see. there, and it is something that is compatible with the newer version. Pendragon hasn't changed much, but if you do come by the booth, we've got some new Pendragon stuff you can take a peek at. It's pre-release as well, but I just can't talk about it.
Okay.
Marketing won't let me.
We can put
okay.
it on the shelf here, but we can't talk about it.
But it is good to see that it is alive and kicking, that there's more things coming out from Pendragon. How's RuneQuest doing?
RuneQuest is good. We're working on the newish, I don't know what to call it exactly. It's sort of a new, revised, streamlined version of the rules, and that's underway.
Yep.
Okay. So
Well underway.
everyone's very busy.
So busy.
And we don't talk about it much, but Kuba and his team have some great plans for board games that are coming up that we're going to be, not ready to announce yet. But he's got a very strong pipeline for us as well. We're so excited about the work they have done to see. I don't think people are aware that Chaosium actually started as a board game company, not a role-playing game company.
Yeah, with the original setting that then turned also with the Glorantha setting was first a board game, right?
White Bear, Red Moon, but also Arkham Horror, right? The Fantasy Flight and Asmodee game that's originally a Chaosium product, and we had lots of other ones, Raiders and Traders. Some of them are some other very silly ones, Lords of the Middle Sea, which is an interesting one that we're going to have. Stomp, yeah. Panzer Pranks. I mean, they did a lot of these older games. I mean, because that's what he started, right? And Greg Stafford was a war gamer as much as a role player.
Yes.
Okay. So you're basically just going back to your roots.
Yeah.
Combining
back
it,
to the-
having a lot of lessons learned on the way and jumping at.
But then Essen is basically the perfect place for you to publish games and to show games, because it's at the intersection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, very much so.
Then thank you so much for the interview and
Thank you
taking
for
the
having
time.
us.
Thank you.
And
Lovely to
have
see
a
you
great
again.
show.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, thank you so much.
And very lovely to meet you too.
All right.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care. We've got our tiny setup here. The one place on the whole spiel where it's silent.
It is very quiet, isn't it? It does make a change, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked to Dominic before, because I think the first time is like 15 years ago.
Something like that. Yeah, it's terrifying. I think it's the 20th anniversary of Cubicle 7 next year.
Yes, you've been around for quite some time.
Yeah, which you can tell just by looking at me. It's
You look fresh. Actually, you look pretty fresh, especially for being at Spiel.
Yeah, definitely. Day 2. It's what witchcraft have I employed?
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's talk about what you're bringing to Spiel and what you're doing right now. Because I think the first time that we talked to each other, we talked about the Doctor Who role-playing game. But I think the thing that we're going to talk about is Warhammer today.
I think probably are, yes. Yeah, we announced the 5th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay earlier in the week. So, the internet has been exploding over that the last few days, which has been lovely. I think it's always great with Warhammer. You get such passion in the fan base.
Sometimes the passion is a little bit grrr, but it's definitely passion. Yeah, and that's all I know, to be honest, that you have announced it. So I've got lots of questions, of course.
Excellent.
Yeah. Because we are right now in book 4 of Enemy Within.
Fantastic.
So my question is, do we finish the campaign before the 5th edition comes, and will it change everything when 5th edition comes?
A very good question. And that's one of the main things that we've been trying. That was one of our main design goals, was to minimize the disruption to anything. So we wanted all of the books that, obviously the books that we've been lovingly putting together over the last, was it 7.5 years now? Coming up to 8 years. Yeah. So we wanted everybody's collection to still be just as valid and just as usable for all that material. And I mean, partially because we're gamers ourselves, and I'd like to. Yeah, I know how it feels when it gets awkward when you get a new edition that changes a lot, and sometimes it's very necessary if you're doing a big update of the rules. But I think wherever possible, I would try to keep things backwards compatible. And so the design challenge we've had is sort of to keep the names and the numbers of things in the same, and change how the rules work around them. Okay. So it's as well. We didn't want it to be too. We're not looking to oversimplify. We really like the the level that sort of the granularity that you get with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I think with fourth edition, we were quite completist when we were looking at how the rules work. So I think it's one of those, sometimes those unintended consequences of, where each kind of separate rules rule for how a thing works, it makes sense and it works. But when you've got like 50 of those, the complexity comes from remembering where it is in the book and which one you use.
And you can tell by my book, because it's got lots of like stickers and markers and things like that. So
there was more of that sort of navigational aid was required, I think, than we intended. So so that's one of the things that we've tried to do. Keep the satisfying level of complexity. There's a satisfying granularity and crunch in it, which is a bit overwhelmed by the breadth, I think, of things that are covered. So we've been cutting down the exceptional rules. So where things work like this. Apart from this example, which uses this little adjustment to the rule, and this little example uses another adjustment to the rule, because keeping those in your head's the challenge then, isn't it? So I think, and some places where there's a big payoff for that in terms of the outcome at the table, where it adds fun, or the detail can just make it easier to resolve. Trying to keep those ones sort of in, but better signposted and flagged. But if it doesn't really matter if you know exactly how well something goes. You just want to know, does it go fine, brilliantly? Then you can have a more simplified sort of system for that. So that's the balance we've been trying to work. But by and large, backwards compatibility so far is very high. So certainly, like if you're in the Enemy Within, the NPCs, all their stats have got the same numbers. The talents are all called the same. The skills are called the same names. So that's fine as is. And the difficulty modifiers are the same. So all of the references to the tests and things, they're all the same. So it's sort of smaller details. And the only real one I think that we got at the moment is we changed how advantage works in combat. So that was one of the more contentious parts of fourth edition. And because I don't like long combats. So for me, mechanics that kind of push combats in the way they were probably going anyway, it's like I have great fun with it.
Honestly, I do like it a lot too, because it escalates. If you're on a roll, you're on a roll, and
it's very dramatic.
We had such fun situations in fights where a character just wades in and chops someone into bits with it. Yeah, but tell me,
it's not everybody's play style.
What are you gonna do with it? How's it gonna change?
So now you either have advantage or you don't. So you're not tracking it, you're not building up points, and when you have advantage, you can reverse the numbers on the dice. So and there's a slight bit more of that with a modifier as well. But broadly speaking, that's what you'll be doing. So you're not having to work out how many points that you have. It's just you have that sort of advantage as you carry your momentum through having successfully either attacked or opposed an attack. So it should be, again, it'll speed things up a little bit more, I think, in terms of the actual role.
That's pretty powerful. It can be.
It can be. Yeah. But it's nice and unpredictable as well. So it's not something you can bank on. But it could go well, could go poorly. And then our poor game masters don't have to be tracking points associated with each opponent as well. So hopefully it'll help to speed things up and still give you that satisfying bit of feeling like you're winning and getting a bit of power from it. But with a bit more ease of play.
Damn, I just got I don't know, we've been playing 2.5 years or something like that. And I finally got my players to actually really track their advantage. Yeah. But when do you plan to release the 5th edition?
So we're just finishing it up at the moment. So we don't have an exact date, but it will be, in the next few weeks we're looking at really. However, now few is obviously a number that is very imprecise. We should have the... this is me rapidly trying to improvise a word that won't get me in too much trouble. In
the foreseeable future.
Yeah, by the end of the year.
Oh, that is a very foreseeable future.
By the end of the year, yeah.
Okay. And is there going to be like the full-on physical book and like the add-on books like the Magic book or something? Are those going to be redone as well?
No. I think with the Magic rules, where the Magic in the core rule book will be based on the Winds of Magic rules. Okay. So that'll be in there. It'll be we've got a couple of decks of just like really the useful reference kind of decks. So not you don't need them to play the game, but sometimes it's just handy to have that like conditions and what else? Like wound impacts and things like that. So there's a couple of decks, a dice set, and some of the posters as well. So we're getting back to being able to do the poster maps. So that'll be nice to have those in there as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's quite a package.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, for the people who already own fourth edition or something like that, and if you maybe have PDFs or something, is there also going to be like an offer that you can upgrade? Kind of what has changed?
It is a new rule book. There's a new sort of section on the Reichland, I'm just trying to get in there and say that no, sorry, but but there is enough in the rule book to attract people to
Okay. So we were aware that you have to offer a little bit more. Here's extra stuff. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's. I'm really looking forward to it and to see what you do with it, because I think it's kind of also what many people are doing like right now. So if you do a new edition, it's more of a soft change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's in terms of the product line itself, it just kind of rolls on. So we've got the rule book, but we haven't held anything for it really. We've got the Marienburg source book is still in development at the moment.
The what source book?
Marienburg, the
Marienburg,
city. Yeah. So that one is still on track, and that will come out after the pre-order for the rule book. But because of that backwards compatibility, the line just kind of rolls on. So
Yeah, that is probably also nice from a publisher's viewpoint.
Yeah. Well, it's you get to those situations where you have to worry about the timings of supplements in with a new edition, and it's a bit of a headache. So it's great to be able to just not worry about that and just sort of have all of the plans that we've had and have for so many years into the future. Which is another reason for backwards compatibility, because we've got so much new stuff to do. The last thing I want to do is go back and have to redo anything that we've already done. So.
This is also something, because it was I probably meant as half a joke question in chat. Has anyone ever had the Warhammer license for that long before you got it? I'm actually not sure, but and you are also already planning for lots of more stuff for the future, and you've got all the Warhammer lines now. You also have got the Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and you've got both of the 40,000, 40K lines. So I'm just assuming that Games Workshop is pretty happy with working with you.
we get on really well. It's a really good working relationship, and I think with it's I think we both get what
it's about.
I think so. I think we're on the same sort of creative wavelength, and then with the Games Workshop team, they're all so passionate and devoted, and very focused on just making the best thing possible that will gives players the best experience possible. That it's we don't all the feedback that we have, like when we're working with them, it all helps to improve what we're doing, and you can't say that for every licensing kind of like thing, but they really care, and it means a lot to them, and they're all gamers, and it's it's just a really positive working relationship. Is really, I'm going too far now, but genuinely, it's a pleasure to work with them. It's great. Yeah.
That sounds. I mean, that's really nice to hear. And I just have to say, I've had a few moments with interviews here where I'm just okay. This is not me being in any way journalistic. I'm just fangirling here because I have to say that the director's cut of the Enemy Within campaign is the best re-release of a campaign that I've seen. And I've looked I've looked at several of like the big campaigns of other games, like of Call of Cthulhu and something. And you were the only ones who had the guts to say, let's change things. And I was wondering, how hard was the decision to say we're just going to chop one book and put something else in, because it's a big thing that you've done.
It's I think I mean, we were lucky, I suppose, that there's been, what was it at the time? 30 something years of playtest feedback as well. So I think there was a lot of information on what people liked and perhaps what they didn't like as much. So that helped us be a bit braver, because we could make the decisions we were going to make were in those areas really that have been identified and other people have been talking about. So that helped. But I think I think I always want to make things as good as they can be, and I think we had some great input from Graham Davis and people who've been involved in the original campaign as well, which helps you to be sure in the authenticity, I suppose, of what you're going back to and what you're building from. So I think being having the confidence that it wasn't just kind of what's the word? Bulldozing a beloved building and putting up your own vision instead. It was. It felt like we were building on and with what had come before. So I think that helped.
Yeah, a lot. Let's talk a little bit about what also comes next for the other lines. We've talked about Marienburg is the one thing that comes out after the pre-order for the next edition for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. What is happening with... I'm always getting this wrong. Soulforged? Soulbound. Soulbound, yes. Yeah. Soulbound for the Age of Sigmar role-playing game. What's the plans there right now?
So with Soulbound at the moment, we're looking at the baddies. Well, I call them the baddies. The misunderstoodies.
Are we the baddies?
Yep. You definitely are, I think, with Champions of Chaos. So that's a new rulebook that you play the Chaos guys. So it's a really interesting take, I think, on Age of Sigmar, because you've got the point of view. You've got Sigmar closing the gates of Azir when things were at their worst, and really retreating and leaving the mortal realms really to their fate really, and what they could make of it. So you've got that sort of like central good figure who has absented themselves and really let down an enormous amount of people, and where do they turn in that sort of situations? And you've got the forces of chaos are offering them the freedom not to become sort of victims to the forces of chaos. So you've got a lot of different motivations for joining up with chaos, and a huge range of things that you can do as well. Huge range of playable archetypes. Like I've been the playtest, I was the Zangor shaman on a disc of Siege, zooming around, casting little mutation spells and just being awful, I think, really. So there's a lot of fun to be had in that. And I think because you're, like with Soulbound, you're quite powerful straight out the gate. You're not having to worry about the day-to-day sort of atrocities of that faction. You're putting your plans into play. You're doing the strategizing, and you're that higher level, movers and shakers, which is a nice sort of power level to be, and access to huge amounts of cool stuff.
I'm kind of wondering how the storytelling is going to be, because with usual Soulbound, you have there's rumors, and then they can grow, and then there's danger from the forces of chaos or something. So what is this? We are starting a rumor. We're making it worse.
In some ways, so you could be sent on you're assigned a mission by Archaon's lieutenants, or whichever, however far up the career ladder you've gone with chaos. Or you could be doing something that is a little bit more self-directed. You could be maybe heading off to Excelsis, say, where you're trying to corrupt the city, because there's that point with Excelsis where the Soulbound that have garrisoned there have lost quite a lot of their humanity. So if you could get the city to look bad enough, there's a good chance the Soulbound will just march in and clean up, in inverted commas. So there's a good range, I think, of potential to give people missions, and also for it to be player directed as well, or maybe shoring up their position within Karngrad or the Bloodwind Spoil. So depending on your group and how into the lore they are and how self-directed they want to be, you've got a good opportunity for both.
It's probably, I always wonder how hard it is to write for the baddies, because, I mean, lots of the things that you do for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and something, it always quite kind of got this little wink, because there's always humor in there.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit harder to find with the Age of Sigmar setting, because it's more epic and it's more over the top. And how do you go about characterizing the baddies? And I think it comes from, what choice do you have, right?
Yeah, I think so. That they had to do something to survive, so this is what they chose to do. I mean, the fact that they liked it so much, and you could argue they have options now, but they're choosing to stay doing what they're doing. So there's, I think the nature of Age of Sigmar as well, I think, lends itself into quite highly imaginative, very fantastical kind of situations as well. I think you've got a lot of very I don't know what the word is. That it's not gonzo, but that kind of there's a lot of very very cool, very fantasy, very almost psychedelic in places, environments and situations and things like that. So you think you've got a lot of really epic events, and
it's very over the top, bigger than anything else.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, and the sheer ability of using the realm gates to move around, and it adds such another dimension to the plots that you can be up to as the forces of chaos. So yeah.
Okay, and then let's talk a little bit about the Warhammer 40,000 part. Honestly, I'm most interested in Imperium Maledictum there, so I'm wondering what is going to happen there. What's next?
So we are finishing up on the next faction book. So you remember with the Dark Heresy and those games, you had the rule book for each faction, whereas with Imperium Maledictum, it's a D100 system, so the sort of spiritual successor of that game. We've kept to a rule book, and then we do a faction expansion for each faction. Okay. So it's let us put a lot more of that page count into exploring the faction, just to get a really deep dive into the lore for it, what it would mean having a patron from that faction. We're putting in background and campaign and adventure content as well for the Macarian sector, which is where it's at. Yeah. So just lets us to do that bigger, deeper dive into it. So the Inquisition has just hit stores, I think, or last month. So that's it's been great seeing the reaction to that.
That's probably the one that everyone was looking forward to.
So. Yeah. And Adeptus Mechanicus we're working on now, which is really interesting because I think it gets a nice deep dive into the AdMech that I think is we haven't seen as much of in the role-playing game, so that'll be really nice.
Okay, I personally love that. It's one of my favorite factions on the Imperial side. I actually do have like a cosplay of an agency and everything, and I've got a huge cog axe at home. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, because I think that's kind of like peak Imperium, because yes, they do know their technology, but they still stick like purity seals and everything. Yeah, okay. So when is that going to be around roughly?
Next few months. Yeah, we're finishing up with that one at the moment. So yeah, that'll be there's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm afraid I will have to finish pretty soon and running off to the next thing. Absolutely. But I do want to ask, because the first time we talked to each other was about the Doctor Who role-playing game. And I'm wondering what is going on there, because Doctor Who is, I don't want to say struggling, but things have been moving around a lot in different directions, and with Ncuti Gatwa leaving early and things like that. So I wonder how that impacts you writing the role-playing game with every 2 weeks. It feels like every 2 weeks they change the lore.
It has some challenges. I think the main thing, I think with the main strength of Doctor Who and the is the passion, again, passion with everything really, isn't it? But I think the love people have for Doctor Who of each era of Doctor Who, and I think there's room for that in it, I think, because it's such a broad kind of setting, and I think like we did when we did the Doctor by Doctor source books, it's that sort of thing. You can choose your own favorite part of it and set, you can make that your version of the game, or what you're playing in. And I think it's true with the Who fandom as well. I think that it is so broad, and there's a fundamental love for Doctor Who that I think no matter how people sort of feel about the current season, or any particular part of it. They love the concept, and they love their part of it. So I think it's lovely. It's really nice, and I'm just having a hero who uses their brain rather than just to outthink their opposition. And I think that there's such a value for that in the world. I don't know. It just feels really nice to be a part of it. It's yeah.
I still love the mechanics that if you actually want to shoot things, you have to let everyone else try something else first. That is such a nice idea just for the rules there that encapsulates what it's about. So thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you again. It's always you always bring such passion, as you said.
As I said 17 million times.
I think it was like 3 or 4 times, but yes. Thank you so much, and I hope have a great spiel.
Thank you, you too.
Yes.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop the stream as well.